So I've been teasing a little bit about the new Freewing 80mm A10 I received. And, well, I finally braved the nice hot garage and assembled it this past week. I found that even a little fan helps a lot. I mean, why didn't anybody tell me about that? A simple fan cools you down. I would have never thunk it. Anyways, despite it being a big model, and it is a big model, in fact, it's quite a bit bigger than I expected, it went together pretty quickly. And it turns out to be really nice. And I really look forward to flying it. Though after finishing it, I realized that I didn't have all the batteries I needed for it. I thought I did, as it requires 6-cell batteries. 2 of them, in fact, around 4,000 to 6,000 milliamp hours. But all the ones I had were of all different brands. So I didn't have 2 of the same brand, or even the same capacity, really. So looking around, I noticed that last week I mentioned I got an Avanti S for parts. And with that, I also got a nice Gens Ace 5500 milliamp hour 6-cell battery pack. It's also 65C, so this should be a really nice reductive fan. And so, being a kind of a fan of Gens Ace in a way, I decided to see if I can get another one. And fortunately, I was able to get another pack of the same type pretty quickly. Speaking of Gens Ace, I've used them for some time, but for the longest time, they actually were hard to get. Which is, to my great surprise, my local hobby shop actually started carrying them the other day when I went to see them. I was quite surprised to see their cabinet and a little box filled with all sorts of Gens Ace battery packs. I wish I had known that before I ordered one. But talking to the owner, he said that Gens Ace is now being distributed, and so normal hobby stores can buy them. So that's great. I'm really happy that I now have actually a local place to buy these batteries instead of trying to find them online somewhere. The nice thing about Gens Ace is they're really good quality batteries for the price, and you can fast charge them, which I really like. In fact, I pretty much only buy lithium batteries that I can fast charge. So 15-20 minutes, I can be ready to go. Since I have a nice overpowered charger, I never really leave my batteries charged anymore. I always keep them at a half charge, and I'll go to the flying field and zap them up real quickly. And I find my batteries will last a lot longer that way. And so people are surprised. Oh, you got to charge your batteries. No, it doesn't take me an hour and a half. It just takes me 15-20 minutes, and I'm done. So that's the way I roll. Oh well, back to the A10. So after rushing to get the batteries and finishing assembly and getting this thing ready to go for some nice weekend flying and video recording, it rains. I mean, it rains for several days straight, on and off. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So by Sunday, which actually was a really nice day other than being 105% humidity, the runway was just almost unusable for anything larger than a small electric. Just puddles everywhere. So we had to scratch any videotape for that day. Though I did take it out for some taxi testing and kind of tweaked it in a little bit. And found that the steering is very good. So once the puddles have dried up, as I mentioned before, our runway gets lots of puddles when it rains, if it's not even just outright flooded. We'll get out and record the flight. I'm really itching to fly this thing. It's a nice big model. A couple guys showed up to the flying field and were gawking at it. It looks really neat with all the weaponry loaded up onto the thing. And I didn't quite notice it, but it's got several strobe lights on the thing too, which is pretty neat. So hopefully, my next time I talk to you, I will have flown it. We shall see. And I also mention that despite my best efforts, I've gone and bought another airplane. Yes, I've been trying to cut back on my airplane acquisitions. And so, yes, hello, my name is Fitz Walker, and I'm an airplaneaholic. So anyways, a local club member is moving away and was selling off some of his airplanes. And he contacted me and said, hey, you interested in buying some of my airplanes? I'm leaving and I don't want to take everything with me. And I initially wasn't all that interested until he started naming off some of the stuff he's selling. And he had, of course, one plane I just couldn't resist. This is a VQ Models JU-52. Yes, an anti-Jew tri-motor plane of Germans use, basically their version of the DC-3. It's a pretty distinct looking model, and I had known about them before, but I hadn't seen one in the flesh before. And this guy had one put together, ready to fly, but he had never flown it. And so he offered me a deal I couldn't refuse, and now I am the proud owner of a nice 63-inch span Ju-52, all wood. It has interesting covering. It does a pretty good job of simulating the corrugated metal that was seen on the real one. Fortunately, it does not have the scale flaps and ailerons, which were a very interesting design. In fact, they were not attached to the wing that you normally see at the trailing edge. They actually were below the trailing edge, separate, kind of like what you'd see with a Stuka. If you've ever seen a Stuka dive bomber, it's got separate flaps and ailerons that are below the wing. It's kind of an interesting way of doing it. I think you probably pay a bit of a drag penalty for doing that kind of thing, but for some reason they did it on this plane, and it seemed to work reasonably well. So once I've flown it, I might investigate looking into making it more scale-like in the flaps and ailerons, but that probably is going to take some pretty intense surgery on the wing to get that right. But hopefully it flies well, and I really look forward to maintaining it. And of course, I'll do a quick review of it. So once I get it up and flying, look for a nice video review of that and see my thoughts on it. Until next time, fly safe.